Welcome back. It's been a minute since we posted on here, but figured redrafts on TikTok. Haven't made a video on here in a while. I love Dynasty Fantasy Football. I love talking about it. Don't really post it on TikTok, so figured, hey, we have a YouTube channel. Start making some Dynasty videos. If you guys don't play Dynasty, it's basically just you keep your team every year. And instead of having a draft of all the players, you just get rookie picks. Massive fan. I love Dynasty. I know it's a smaller community, so if you guys aren't into it, no worries, but if you are, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Love to make more of these. And we got tier list of the receivers in Dynasty. So again, if you haven't played, youth usually has a ton of value in Dynasty because you want your guys to be able to play for a long time in your team. You want to create a dynasty essentially. You want to be able to win multiple years in a row with your team. So again, this is receivers. I got top, I think it's 27 or 28 guys, and this includes rookies. So rookies that are going to play next year. Again, we're still in December. Not everyone has committed, so some of these guys might not be actually in the draft, but I'm just going to assume they are. So starting out in S tier, player number one. Don't really need to speak about it too much. It's Justin Jefferson. He's been insane. He's been injured this year, but it's week 14. He hasn't played yet. He plays the Raiders. I'm expecting a massive game. So if you're seeing this afterwards, hopefully that prediction's correct. Next up in the same tier, though, got Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb. Usually it's just Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in this tier. CeeDee has been so good this year. I had to bump him up to S tier. Plus, if I bumped him down, there'd be way too many tiers. But I do think CeeDee deserves to be in tier 1. Moving down to tier number 2, starting off with our first rookie, we got Marvin Harrison. If you haven't heard about Marvin Harrison, he's the son of the legendary Colts receivers, Marvin Harrison. He's Marvin Harrison Jr. This guy is insane as a prospect, basically the perfect prospect. Crazy athletic, 6'3", I want to say. Insane hands. If you watch the highlights, you're going to be blown away. But even, obviously you don't want to just watch the highlights, but as a prospect, he's probably going to be a top 3 pick if he declares. There's rumors, though, he might go back to school. Apparently offered an insane NIL offer, so we'll see if he comes out. If he does, he's going to be a very heavily sought-after receiver in Dynasty. He could even be S tier. I didn't want to put him in S tier just yet, but again, very easily could be an S tier. Next up, Amon-Ra. In a PPR league, insane. He's young, tons of value. A.J. Brown next. I wanted to put Tyreek ahead of him, but A.J. Brown's still 26 years old. Tyreek Hill turning 30, so few years different. If I had to choose one for redraft, obviously I'm choosing Tyreek Hill, but few more years available with A.J. Brown, so I had to put him ahead on the list. So that's the A tier. That's our top 7 players. Moving down to B tier, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, 2 Ohio State receivers, both been balling out. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers went down. Couldn't really see what Garrett Wilson could do this year. If Aaron Rodgers was healthy, would not be surprised at all if Garrett Wilson's somewhere like here on the rankings, but horrible quarterback play been holding him back. And last player in this tier, going to put Malik Neighbors, another great prospect from LSU. Looks like Jaden Daniels going to win Heisman probably. Would not be surprised if Neighbors wins the Blitnikoff best receiver in college football. Insane season for both of them. I'm expecting him to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. If so, definitely deserving of B tier in these rankings. Moving down, this is where it gets a little controversial. I still have JSN here. I still believe in the talent. I know he hasn't been great this year. He's a clear receiver 3 behind Lockett and Metcalf. Metcalf's for sure going to be there next year and producing. Lockett still should be on the team, but I'm expecting it to slowly move where JSN's the 2. Eventually, Lockett's going to be gone. Massive fan of JSN, massive fan of the prospect. I still think talent's going to win out long term. Maybe not going to be super productive for the next season, but afterwards, I'm expecting sky high upside from JSN. In the same tier, we got a bunch of rookies here. Jordan Addison, he's been insane. He's been awesome this year, but being on the same team as Justin Jefferson, you are never going to be the 1. You are always going to be at most the receiver number 2. So that does limit his upside a little bit. Still love him though in Dynasty. Puka Nacua has been amazing. Seemingly came out of nowhere in fantasy. But with Stafford being old, the Rams situation is a little bit of a question mark. So in Dynasty, long term, have him behind these 2, but don't really fault anyone for having Puka at the top of this tier. But again, these are tiers, so you can basically interchange anyone within the tiers. Moving on, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Brandon Ayuk are my last three in this tier. Brandon Ayuk, I'm not a massive fan, but he's still young, producing big time this year. Plus, his contract's up, could go to a new team. If he's a receiver one on a new team, with a contract extension, so he'll have money guaranteed to him. Pretty safe option. Same thing, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, both young, both producing. Waddle's been a little disappointing this year. Expecting him to pick it up, though, especially when Tyreek leaves. He's going to be great. No concerns there for me. Again, youth, heavily valued in Dynasty. So someone like Stephon Diggs in redraft goes way higher than this. He's the receiver 6 right now in this season for redraft leagues, averaging, I think it's 18.99 points per game. But in Dynasty, with him being nearly 30 years old, has to be lowered a little bit because you're not expecting him to play too much longer. Still a few good seasons I would expect, but it doesn't have that long-term outlook. Plus the Bills, there's always drama with Diggs and the Bills. Would not be that surprised if he does end up leaving eventually, which in my opinion would hurt his upside. Plays with Josh Allen, one of the best QBs in the league. Next up we got Nico Collins. I'm actually going to put Tank Dell slightly ahead, but love the two Texans receivers. If they don't draft a receiver in the first or second round, both these guys are going to be heavily sought after dynasty assets, connected with CJ Stroud, who has been insane this year. CJ Stroud has been amazing. Moving on, DK might be a little low. DK's been insane this year, but still like these other guys, I think slightly more. Sorry, I meant to put DK here. There we go. DK, second in this tier, but I still like the tier ahead of him. I'd still rather have those guys in Dynasty. Yeah, DK still a beast. And two more players in this tier. I got Rome Odunze, another projected top 10, top 15 pick. If he gets that draft capital, definitely going to be up there in Dynasty rankings. And one of my personal favorites, I am a massive fan of DJ Moore. On a lot of Dynasty rankings, he's usually a little lower than this. But you saw with Justin Fields, he is a monster for fantasy. I think averaging over 20 points per game, which is insane. Plus, if they do draft a quarterback first overall, they're looking like they're going to get the first overall pick from the Panthers this year. Could argue that his upside and production will even increase. So I love DJ Moore, still young-ish, under contract with the Bears. So that's the D tier. And then last, moving on to F tier. First up, Michael Pittman has been insane. Just made a video on TikTok for Nuclear. He's played 12 games. 8 of those 12, he has 11 or more targets. He has been getting force-fed. When Anthony Richardson comes back next year, expect his production to maybe go down a little bit, more of a run-first offense than a pass-first with Gardner Minshew. But expect the Colts to bring him back. Michael Pittman has been insane this year and still relatively young, so still has a good few more years. Next up, Zay Flowers, rookie receiver for the Ravens, has looked awesome. Love Zay Flowers. One player that's a lot higher on my list than probably a lot of lists, Rashee Rice. He has, honestly, in my opinion, started to break out, looking like the clear wide receiver one for the Chiefs. And if you're the clear receiver one for the Chiefs, with Patrick Mahomes, obviously you have some pretty good upside. They could bring somebody in. If they do, obviously would hurt Rice a little bit if he's no longer like the clear receiver one. Kelsey's still there, but he's slowing down. He's, I think, 34 years old. So Rashee Rice, if they don't bring anyone in, I love him in Dynasty. Would not be surprised at all if throughout the rest of the regular season and the playoffs has a few massive games. Another player I had to throw on the list was T. Higgins. Not yet 25 years old. Probably leaving the Bengals, but if he goes to a new team with a contract, kind of the same thing with Ayuk. Could be the one on a new team, and with a contract that has some guaranteed years. Has some insulated value. And then last player I want to throw on here, Keon Coleman. Projected top 10, top 15 pick. So again, kind of had to throw him on the list. If you guys enjoy the Dynasty content, drop a comment. Let me know if you want to see more of this. I can do running backs. So many video ideas. Again, I'm a massive fan of Dynasty. I love Dynasty. Haven't really made a ton of videos on it, but would love to start getting into it. So appreciate you guys spending some time with me, and have a good rest of your day. We'll see you later.